All right, guys, welcome back to another episode. Hey, I think we got like 17 views the last one, so we're picking up steam, man.
Yeah, I
We
think
got
only
the same,
two or three of those are mine. So I think the
we
rest.
got the same 4 subscribers, which is like my 3 YouTube accounts and like yours, I think.
Probably. Yeah, no, but subscribers is the hardest thing to get. So like,
Yeah, I think people like on average just like a 5 minute listen. So, but anyway, yeah, welcome to another week of the Florida Panthers Hockey Bros podcast. We are going to be reviewing 2 games this week, and we are going to get into some of the happenings around the league. I think this is probably one of the most interesting starts to an NHL season in a while, considering how many good teams are underperforming. And I mean, the Hurricanes. Oh, my
I don't know what's
goodness,
going on.
what is
Yeah,
happening?
I don't know what's happening, man.
And you know, we know like things are going to average out, right? The law of averages is going to balance out at some point, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to, Dario's going to talk about the prospects from the Panthers for a little bit. He's been watching the games and following some of the guys that might be coming up with the Panthers soon. And then yeah, let's start with the two games this week, Dario. I was there on Saturday against the Canucks. We lost 5-3, I believe, with an empty netter at the end, which really pissed me off. I did get a puck that I stole from a little girl that was coming. She was running down the stairs to get it, and I just snatched it.
It's like one of those CSPN highlights.
I told my wife after, I'm like, I think I feel she was the only one. Like no one in the seats like stood up. They're all like season ticket holders and they don't care about a puck. I was the only one. Like it literally landed next to me, but I kind of like bubbled it. Like it was like going all over the place. It was cold. It smells like burnt rubber still, which I never realized. But yeah, this is a 30th anniversary one, so it's kind of cool.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah.
Too bad we lost, and it was against the Canucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, like watching the game up close, we were in the 6th row by the penalty box. Was pretty cool because typically we sit in the upper levels, and the team was flying, man. I think the first period and the third period were some of our best. The third period was probably our best of the season, just the consistency until the 4th goal by Vancouver, which just killed us. I mean,
yeah,
the crowd just like, oh, it was a big groan, like just, man, what a letdown.
Yeah.
But the 2 goals to tie were very exciting. But yeah, I personally think that, Rodriguez had a really good game. Obviously, Reinhardt, it's probably the main guy that's producing. I know it's a lot of tip-ins, and he's an empty net expert. He was out there on he was out there I guess the Sharks trying to get that.
He's an elite compiler, bro.
He was trying to get that other goal, but I get it. Like I understand why fans are so high on him.
You need those guys. You need people.
You need scorers, and like he's one of those.
It's a skill to.
Hey, he's really good around the goalie, like Kachuk. And I think the difference is like at some point you have to say, okay, Reinhardt knows where to be. At the very least.
He's just a below average shooter in my opinion. But
yeah, 505. He's not great. His shot's not great, but Kachuk's either. Like Kachuk's not a good shooter.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things we're gonna get into in this episode. Like the lack of, I don't want to say scoring, but yeah, the lack of shooters or snipers that we have on the team. That's why I was kind of, once I saw what Mackey could do, I was kind of high on that and hoping that he would stay. Based on the preseason, I thought Lundell was gonna, maybe have a couple of goals and take more chances. And some of that stuff has kind of been a little flat, for my opinion. And I think that, I think beyond the first line right now is not looking amazing. And that's also encouraging because, it's coming. I know Bennett has been practicing and he might play on Saturday, most likely, if he does well today. We're recording this on Friday. So that's good. But yeah, any observations that you have on the Vancouver game? I kind of want to just focus on that since Barkov was there and the Sharks that was an easy game, honestly, even though it wasn't. But yeah, I think the Vancouver game, it's For me, it's a good measuring stick because Vancouver just played hard the whole game. They just skated. They skated very hard. They were very fast. They have a couple of big guys. And yeah, anything that you saw that caught your attention specifically to that game?
Yeah, no, I mean the second period was a huge letdown. I think that that those are the things you have to correct as you go, because you cannot have that much of a letdown at home in the middle of a game. And on balance, we were better. We did have defensive miscues. I think right now our main struggle is the PK has been pretty bad. And I think Maurice talked about how a lot of the new guys, like that speed and trust, is built over time. And he even pointed to the fact that Barkov, and I forget who Barkov is paired with. He says when Barkov, Forsling, and whoever else is out there who have killed penalties together, they haven't allowed a goal on the power play. It's been mostly with the new guys. So he's just talking about how they're not.
Yeah, I think it's like Stanlon. It's
Lustraning and and so
yeah.
it's new pairs and new defensemen out there. I mean, even OEL is like killing penalties, and I think that just matters. Like you want Eblak out there, maybe you want a Montour out there, so it's going to be sort of a process in that sense. But if you take away, I look at the stats, and I know, the game itself, again, like I think it came down to defensive miscues in the second period that we wasted. And then just giving up that fourth goal was killer, because we were going to win that game if we just held the fort, probably even go to overtime. But so anyway, game management is something that we got to learn more and more. And some of the defensemen like Kulikov and stuff, like sometimes they make risky plays. OEL isn't always the most reliable guy. Forsling has had a slow start, even though the numbers for Forsling aren't that bad, but overall. But anyway, like those things are to be expected. I think combined with the fact that our power play has scored about 4 to 5 fewer goals than expected. I mean, our expected goals in the power play is like way under what it should be. And so when you put those two together, that's the record. Like we probably could be 5-1 if we had a better penalty kill and a better power play, like straight up. And so, and that's encouraging in the sense that we were missing Bennett. We're missing the two top defensemen. We were able to do that with those guys out. Barkov didn't play the last game, even though we won. So our numbers that are showing, it's not our complete team. We have a bunch of new guys, some rentals. So, Maurice has them playing. The numbers say that Maurice has them playing as strongly as they played last year overall. Like we are more of a playoff team, can play hard at 5-on-5. We're really strong both ways. Our expected goal differentials really strong. Again, when you take the PK out of it, which again, it's part of the game. So we got to work on it. It's not like we can ignore that the PK will just magically get better, but it is as bad as it can be. I mean, it's been terrible. So anyway, I do think that there's hope that we're going to get a lot stronger in a lot of these areas, and then those wins will come a little bit easier. I don't think we've had really any easy wins yet, per se. So anyway, I for me, Vancouver, I thought it was just disappointing because we just took it for granted, I think, at some point. And to be honest, Vancouver played a full 60. They played, even in the third that they got dominated, they were trying to defend, and they came out to play. Taka has been playing harder. You can see it. The numbers show it. They're +8 for the year. They're 4-2. They're beating the Oilers. They are on the road and have a winning record. And so
everyone's beaten the Oilers, though.
What's that?
Everyone has beaten the Oilers.
No, I know. But to start the season, when they were healthy and everybody thought the Oilers were going to dominate. So, I'm just saying, yeah, we've seen. I think the Oilers.
Well, they whooped their ass. It wasn't just they didn't just win.
Yeah.
That game, right?
The second game the Oilers were better, but they still won on the road. But anyway, all to say that they're these teams change, and Vancouver might be a playoff team, maybe not. But all to say they played a good road game, so that happens. And I think that we didn't play a good home game, full 60, and that came back to bite us. I think San Jose, we were really shorthanded and we struggled, but we put in a ton of chances. We should have scored more. So I'm less worried about that game. I think it was tight, just we couldn't capitalize on the power play, but we should have been up 4-0, 4-1 going into the third, and that would have been a different kind of game, like the one that Tampa had yesterday, where they beat the hell out of the Sharks because they score early, and once you go up 2-0 or whatever, then they have to open up, and then you can just put them away. But so anyway, I'm not worried. Long term, I think it's going to be maybe a scrappy season until really we do get our guys back. and we just have to really get some wins. We need to start getting a few breaks. We need, the goalies haven't been as bad as Bob hasn't been as bad outside of the PK. Like if you take away those goals, he's been pretty solid. And so we just have to put away some of these teams, maybe beat some good competition in the next few games and get on the right track. The guys get more comfortable. And Maurice can push him a little bit more as we get deeper, because the pressure will mount if we stay at 500, 15 games in. Then at that point, I think Maurice is definitely gonna either make changes or bench people or be saying different things to the media. So, but the effort's there. We got a big team. I like that. Our guys are pretty big. Mikolai's huge. Kologov is a big guy hitting people. Kind of doing that little Gudas thing of like smashing guys sometimes, and then Stenlund and Lawrence and Lomberg are great. I didn't like them, and then they've become a really, really strong line.
Well, they play really hard and they all have skill.
And they started to develop chemistry, which I think is maybe what I was missing that first game that I saw them. They were all over the place.
They barely played that first game.
But yeah, they've really developed it. And so yeah, that's my main thing is, I guess, overall, if we look at the advanced metrics, and I know some people don't like that, but they are an indicator of like the foundation of the team, in my opinion. It doesn't mean that it predicts the outcome. We might still lose and not make the playoffs, but what the numbers show is that outside of the PK, we're one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the league. Like it just shows it like on both sides. And so Tkachuk hasn't gotten going. Verhaeghe hasn't really fully gotten going. Barkov hasn't scored a lot. He's been out. Lundell's been a disappointment, and we'll talk about Lundell too. I'll throw it back to you because I want to talk about Lundy a little bit and Lusty as well. But we haven't had Reinhardt basically is carrying us on the scoring right now, and I guess Rodriguez, who's been awesome. And we don't have a ton of defensemen scoring like we used to have. I think Forsling's not getting as many looks because OEL is carrying more of the offense, and he's more of a shooter setup guy, but he's not gonna go in and pinch in and score a bunch of goals. He's not Montour. He's not Ekblad. That's not his style. He's not going to weave through guys. He's going to get the shots through. So he's getting assists. But so I think all the defensemen are going to start scoring more once we have our guys back, and that's going to help the team relieve pressure. But yeah, I'm not worried. I think the numbers are good. We just got to get healthy. Sounds like a lot of guys are sick now. So tomorrow's kind of a tricky game, but yeah, we got to give ourselves those 20 games that Marie said, get Montour back, Bennett back, and then I can kind of maybe evaluate more what it looks like at full strength or closer to it. But encouraging signs. I like the new signings. I like how the guys are playing overall. And when we really, really try hard, we dominate so far.
Yeah,
so
I think one thing that's a little different than last year, because there were some games last year where we dominated, ton of shots. But it was just a ton of shots. If you compare it to this season, I think we look much, much better. We have better players. The Whites and Cousins, even though we still have Cousins, but I think the additions of Stenlund and Lawrence are clearly going to show that we can maybe have depth and keep the pressure on, which is very important. If you look at other teams, and I know we're going to get into it later, but if you've got the Leafs and all these teams that are having good, wins, I guess you could call it, I don't see it, even with Dallas. I don't see the same, I wouldn't say effort, but I don't see the same intensity. I think when the Panthers want to turn it on, they are like top 3, top 4 in the league in terms of pressure, offensive zone pressure, even scoring chances. It shows that we're good at generating those. We're just not putting them away. And as long as we stay in the top 10 on a lot of these analytics, it's going to pay off. And I think this year is going to be a little different. Our first line has actually been our best line, which has rarely been the case. It was rarely the case last year. Our second line with Verhaeghe on it was our best line last year. I think the addition of Rodriguez has added a lot, because he's almost just as fast as Duclair, man. He's so fast. I didn't realize how fast he was going to be, and he's a really good passer. He's always had his heads up. It's just experience. He's always looking on the ice to see where to go. I think that there's a reason why Reinhardt is doing so well in the first line and he didn't last year. And I think that's Rodriguez. I honestly think that that's what it is. He's opening up the ice and doing things that we just didn't have last year. So yeah, I think that game is a good. The Vancouver game, it's kind of like exactly who the Panthers are, right? We can dominate. We can hang with any team. I'm not saying Vancouver's all-stars, but Vancouver played really well. They played really hard that game. I could see it. And we still generated a ton of chances. We should have put the game away in the third. So yeah, I'm not worried. I'm not worried going forward. I think things will balance out and we'll get some wins. And yeah, I agree. You know, we're 6 games in. I think the next 4 are big. I think we get the Bruins after Seattle. And if we go from there and we kind of stabilize and get healthy and start pushing, I think we'll be okay after 20 games. I don't think we'll be like last year where we were still struggling. I don't know if you remember after like the 20 games, it wasn't happening. There was all types of issues and like confusion and it's a new style. And I think Maurice was trying to focus more on like the playoffs, like this is what's coming. So we, maybe he took for granted that we were going to get there. And that kind of helped the team to see what they needed. But yeah, and then if, I don't want to talk too much about the San Jose Sharks game. I mean, the Sharks are the worst team in the league right now. And I feel so bad for them. Tampa put up like 6 on them. There was a lot of shoutouts yesterday, by the way. There was like 4 or 5, right? Both 9:00 games were shoutouts. Anyway, we'll get into that later. But yeah, I didn't. Anything you want to talk about the San Jose game? I know Barkov was out, and obviously we're missing, our top 2 centers in that game and our top 2 defensemen. But yeah,
I mean, it's kind of a non, it's the kind of game where you just want to get the points, honestly. I mean, ideally, sometimes those nights you can dominate at home and win big like Tampa did. But when that's not happening, when Barkov and Bennett are out, when the puck isn't rolling your way, you're not getting the rebounds, the goalie had some good saves, like, you just won the win. And that's what they did. They didn't allow more than a goal. And Stolarz was actually pretty solid. I liked him. He's big. He can move a little bit and really good positioning. Doesn't give a lot of rebounds either. I like him as a backup right now. I think Knight might spend a little bit more time down in the AHL getting right. Because Stolarz right now, at least based on that game, you can trust him. No, I just wanted to, more than the game, I just wanted to say that, I think that part of the reasons why it's frustrating to watch sometimes, and it's like we're 3-3 and all that, it's, in addition to the PK and penalty kill, like not being right, in terms of allowing or scoring goals. I also think, we're not getting much from the middle 6. I mean, last game, finally, Kachuk and Verhaeghe took over and won the game. But we need more of that from them. We were not getting that from them at all the first 5 games. And then the third line right now, it's a mess. I think part of it is Lundy, the first couple of games was not right. I think he wasn't skating as hard. He was not getting as physical. He was trying to just like weave through people and like, I think the confidence that he built, he's using it the wrong way. I think he's trying to make plays that aren't there. And he's trying to skate through people and he's losing the puck a lot and stuff. So last couple of games he's been better, more physical and involved. He got moved to that first line last time, so he got to play a little bit more. But I think he just, to be fair to him, as a center, is really hard. When you've played with Mackey and Serdev and Reinhardt and Cousins, man, on the left, that's like, that's like a sack of bricks that you got to carry. And again, Cousins plays hard. Sometimes he can weave a little bit, but he's not a top 9 player.
No, he's a 4th liner, and
he's a really good 4th liner.
Yeah,
because he does have a little bit of skill and the skating, and he plays hard. Like, I don't take that away from him.
No. He and like I told you last year during the season,
but he's less skilled than Lomberg, man. Like,
Lumber is the one that you need to resign for the 4th line.
Yeah,
I would resign all 3 guys right now for
I'll keep that 4th line. Yeah.
Give him $1 million, 1.5.
Yeah, sign him for 2 to 3 years. I think that's a good 4th line.
Yeah, because Lumber signed 2 years for like 1.5, so it was like whatever.
Yeah, Lumber's not going to get paid
800,000. Yeah, he's not going to make more than $1 million anywhere, and he doesn't really fight. Like, I know he's kind of like a tough guy, but he doesn't fight. He's a little guy.
No, he's not out there looking for fights. He's out there looking to hit people and make plays, and I like that.
But he can score. He can give you 5 to 10 goals on a 4th line. That's great.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. and he's really good. He's good. He's always looking up.
Cousins, his numbers were some of the worst. Last game, he was the worst player in the win against the Sharks. Like he's a mid player with below average skill, below average speed, below average size. Like he can play center. That's his advantage. He works hard. It's a nice complementary piece. He kind of showed up in the playoffs. We'll always remember that goal and all that. But at the end of the day, he doesn't fit with Lundy at all. I just don't see the chemistry. I don't see how that can work. I think that makes it harder. And Lundy's still young. I mean, I just want to be fair. Like it's easy to expect these guys to just take off, but he doesn't have his line. If he had Lusty and Reinhardt for 6 games and he wasn't looking good, then I'd be worried. But he hasn't had that at all. So once he gets Lusty back, and once they figured out who's going to play on the right wing on that line, then maybe he gets a little bit better. Maybe Lomberg gets moved up. I'd rather see Lomberg on the third, on the right with Lusty and him and have Cousins go to the fourth line. But so yeah, and Lusty hasn't put up numbers. He's been playing great both ways, filling in for Bennett. But he's a $3 million player. He's only going to give you that 15 to 20 goals if you put him on the wing. He's not going to give you that at center because he has to set up. He has to worry about defense. Verhaeghe and Tkachuk all love to forecheck, so he can't afford to just be trying to shoot all over the place. He's got to be responsible. So Lusty's doing a good enough job in that second line, but long term he's still a third liner. And yeah, the last thing I'll say is we're not going to be a really, really top regular season team until we get better skill in shooting. Because you need that in the regular season. I mean, yesterday, look, the Toronto and Dallas game, honestly, to my eye, it was a mess. Like both teams were the first period, Dallas was terrible turning it over. It was super open. Then they try to play a little bit more physical and more like a playoff style. And Toronto didn't want any of that, but Toronto just kind of held the fort and Wall gave him another good game. But when I looked at that game, I was like, guys trying to make plays all over the place, turning it over, sloppy. Guys are just trying to show off. It just doesn't feel and that's how they win. Actually, that's how some guys end up scoring and putting goals because they get those open ice, sort of shots. So you do need that kind of skill. And I think now Cito's going to be forced to find that because he has to let some people go. We're going to have to sign some contracts and we're going to have to add some pieces. So he'll have the flexibility. Maybe Bob gets moved with some retention of salary, but we need Mackey in there. We need a new winger. Rodriguez got to be in the middle six. That's a sign that you have a good team. Rodriguez is not a top liner. He's doing great, but if he's going to be a first liner long term, we're in trouble, right? And so the same with Lusty. Those guys are hardworking middle six. Ideally third line, but can fill in with two great. Verhaeghe and Tkachuk can afford to have a Rodriguez or a Lusty with him if they have to. But so anyway, that's all I'm going to say. It's I think we need more depth this year. I'm excited for the defense because with Montour, if you break down the pairs with Montour and Ekblad back, if everybody's healthy, it looks pretty deep. OEL's looking solid on the top line. Top pair. He's probably going to be third pair when everybody comes back. It'll be Ekblad and Forsling. And it's going to be Montour, probably Mikkola, who's been really good. And, Montour needs a solid Mark Stahl, defensive guy to be able to fly. So that's probably going to be Mikkola. And then you probably have OEL and either Kulikov or Mahura. And then Balinskis, I think they really like him. So he's going to be a bit depth guy, like a 7th or 8th guy. So that looks pretty good. Balinskis looks good out there. So if it's your backup guy, then you're in good shape. So yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll get better, but I don't think it's going to always look pretty. I think it's just we just don't have that high level. We're not Toronto. We're not the Avalanche. We're not Dallas. We're not even Carolina, even though they're struggle. We're doing as good as we can with what we have, man. We have a ton of journeymen and $1 million players. Half the team is like $1 million player at this point.
Yeah, and I think going backwards on everything you said, starting with OEL, knowing Maurice, I don't think he's going to be the third pairing. He's probably going to be the second pairing. And then Mikkola will probably be with Mahura or Kulikov. Well, he's been playing with Kulikov already. So
we'll see. Yeah.
So I think that's going to be I do think he likes OEL and he likes the veteran and the experience. And I'm okay with that. Like, I think the next 2-3 years, it makes sense to have experience on the team. And that's why he got the Stoll brothers, to kind of bring something to the locker room. And it makes sense. I'm not against it. I would prefer, the only move that I would make is I would definitely trade Cousins at this point and rotate between Mackey and Sordiff, depending on who's playing best. That's what I would do right now. If I was Cito, that's the conversation that I would have with Maurice. And then beyond that, I think Lusterinen, that's tricky because, it was supposed to be his regular line combination, and then all of a sudden, Bennett can't play, and then you have to take center, and it's a second line, and when has Lusterinen really played with Kachuk? Like it's tricky.
And he's doing okay, man. He's doing
fine. No, and I like, he's not a stats guy. He's just solid, consistent on the boards.
And he's better in the playoffs, actually. So
he's gonna be making the plays that you don't really see when you're watching the game that eventually lead to a goal or offensive zone coverage. So I have nothing bad to say about Lusty. Lundell, I think that he just needs to settle in. I think there is a little bit of pressure. They're definitely pushing him. Yeah, they're definitely pushing him to have a good season and maybe earn that next extension. I have nothing bad to say about Lundell. I think, like, as a center, you need your wingers. Like, that's your job as a center is, two-way play and to get the puck into the offensive zone and find your guys to create plays. So I think, you can't play with Cousins and, whoever. Like, the constant, like, rotation of players is going to kind of mess with you. I do think Reinhardt's going to stay on the top line, and it makes sense. And you've kind of, like, I'll give you credit on that. Like, you mentioned that in the past, where if you're going to give Reinhardt a contract extension that he's going to want, he has to be a first liner, and he has to give you those 30 goals as a first liner, which I think he will. I think he's playing for that contract. He's going to play really well this year, whether it's deceiving or not. I don't think it's deceiving because, like I said, when we got him, he was already consistently a 20-goal scorer. So I don't think that, there's going to be a big drop-off anytime soon. That's someone that you need. I don't know if we can pay him, whatever he's asking for. I don't know if we're going to pay him $8 million or whatever, if we're going to use the cap space that's coming in the next couple of years for that. But I do think you need a player like that if you're going to move on from him. I think, I'm happy with the team. I've been enjoying what I've been watching from them. The fourth line has been probably our first and fourth have been our best lines the last few games. And, against the Sharks, the one thing I'll say is our second line finally got going. Verhaeghe and Kachuk played a really good game. It didn't really show, on the score sheet, but I think they've been solid and they're coming along. Like, I think that some of the guys are just like, it's a delayed start, This is like the preseason for them. Which is normal.
Yeah, and they come in for a long run, and that doesn't matter, man. Like, getting used to it again, getting your body used to it. Even the injury for Kachuk coming out of it, he's got to mentally be sort of like probably more hesitant than usual.
Yeah, he has not been hitting or getting anybody's face.
And that's totally normal, I think. And so as soon as we stay in the mix and we wait to have the depth and then we do need to go on a run at some point. Whether that's going to be December or even if it's January, February, and have a second half again, like last year, to make it in. I think once we're in, if we're healthy mostly, we're going to be trouble for people because we're even deeper this year, at least in terms of depth. And our fourth line is bigger and stronger. We have more size. We have skill. The chemistry will be better going into that. And also, we've been there. Our young guys will have a lot more experience. We'll be more confident. We'll know what to do. So, I'm pretty sure we're going to be that team that people say, like, yeah, you don't want to play that team in the first round if we make it. But it is going to be a bit of a grind in the regular season until we can go on some sort of run. And we do need other teams to drop off a bit, Hopefully Tampa continues to struggle. I think Red Wings are going to drop. Buffalo has been slow. Senators have been slow. So that's been good for us. Bruins are hot, but they've had a very easy schedule. Yesterday they gave away a game into the Ducks. So yeah, I think we'll be okay. But I'm preparing myself to be frustrated some nights because we just don't have that elite skill. And Cito has tried to get Tarasenko, has tried to get Bertuzzi. There are rumors that he might try to get Kane. That tells you all you need to know. Like if he does that, he's going to have to like waive somebody or like make a move, and that maybe it's Cousins or maybe it is somebody else. But that lets you know that he knows we need some skill, some shooting, some power play, shooting. Like Rodriguez is a nice patch, but he's not an elite guy. He's not a guy that you put in your first PP or you would have in your first line if you had a choice, because he's more of a second, third line guy at this point. But kudos to him for stepping up and being he's turned out to be a great setup guy for Reinhardt, which has been nice. He and Reinhardt have had some chemistry, which has been, kind of cool to see. But anyway, yeah. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Kraken, they're going to play hard. They have some defensive deficiencies, I think, that Kraken do. They'll be sort of vulnerable. They have a little bit of depth in the forwards, so we'll have to watch how they play hard. That's the thing with them. They forecheck.
Yeah. You just lack star
you cannot if you have a lackadaisical game, you're gonna suffer. So hopefully we can put a couple goals on them early, and then maybe we can force them to open up and put them away. That would be the way to. And we'll see who's healthy. I mean, that's the other question. We'll have to see what the practice is today and all that. So.
Yeah, agreed. I think I wouldn't rush Barkov back if he's not feeling well.
I don't know what's up with Barkov. He said he was feeling a lot better. Dude, even if it's a game time decision, play him. He's the first line center, dude. What do you got? What the hell you got? Diarrhea? Like, what do you got? You got another flu?
I rather have
pneumonia. Like, dude, take your vitamins. What's going on? Like, I don't understand. I mean, I don't mean to. Maybe he has a condition. I don't mean to be an asshole. Maybe he has a health issue. But anyway, no, it's just been back-to-back years with him being so sick.
His condition is that he needs to stop being so damn freaking.
Get a healthy diet, take some vitamins, and
eat some kale, man.
Whatever. If he's feeling better, just play him. Like an 80% Barkov is better than than whatever the hell we
try to plug in somebody that hasn't played with those guys.
If he's in practice today, he's going to play tomorrow. If he's not, then he'll be a game time decision probably.
And I think Bennett same. I think
Bennett's going to play unless he has a setback. I mean,
he said he was good, and like if he practices today, he's going to play tomorrow.
Yeah, unless he has a setback, I think he'll play.
I would honestly play them as soon as like they feel ready. Same with Montour, because like you need it. Like you can't be. I was looking at the schedule through December 31st. It's actually pretty good. Like,
well, November is tough because we have a ton of games, but that's the main thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of games. In the next 2 weeks, there's a stretch where we
had a bunch of days off at home, so
Yeah, we travel, then we come back home, then we travel again, all within like 5 days, which makes no sense. It's one of those things that they did last year, but whatever. Like beyond that, we really, if you look at the top teams that we're facing, top competition, we have maybe 8 to 9 games that we're facing against top teams in the league from judging from last year.
Yeah.
The rest, we played like the Blackhawks twice. There's some winnable games in there. Yeah. Those are the games that we really have to put away, which it never happens. I know we're going to lose some of those.
No, and it's funny because much like the Leafs, like we get up for the big games. Like we beat Colorado on the road last year. I think it was like 5-1 or something. It was, we've done that to the Oilers. We've done that to the Leafs. We've beaten the Leafs in overtime in Toronto several times. And yet, much like a lot of the top teams, then we play the Blackhawks, so we play Montreal, and all of a sudden it's either a scrap or we lose, or we put up 40 shots and lose 3-2 or whatever. So anyway, it's a game by game thing at this point.
Yeah.
And, hopefully, I'm glad that they were sick while we were off, and we didn't have to go crazy and scrap. But hopefully, we are healthy tomorrow, and then definitely by Monday or whenever it is we play the Bruins. So
Monday.
Yeah, so I think that Bruins game is good. It'll be a good test, and going back there after having beaten them, they're not going to be happy. They're going to try to hit us and beat us. So it'd be a good game. But yeah, man. So far, mostly good. Just need health. Need chemistry and need to actually score.
Yeah, we need the results. Like I told you, I just want to get off to a good start, get the points.
Get the power play going, man. That helps so much when you score those power play goals because it relaxes you, and then the other team has to open up, and you start to put the games away. because we are getting the chances. It's just, Kachuk is just like trying to smack it instead of making the smart play. I think they're forcing it a bit, but the chances are there, and we haven't gotten a ton of tips. The tips have gone wide a lot. Like against the Sharks, we had so many tips, but they just didn't go in. And so they'll start going in. So I'm not worried.
Yeah. All right, let's transition. Let's go into the prospects. Did you ever you got the package, right? You watching the game?
No, I ended up not getting it. I am following the games. I'm not watching the games because I'm not ready to watch them yet. I think it's if Maggie and Sortif and everybody ends up down there for a stretch, you can get a monthly one that's cheaper, and I might do that just to watch a few games. I feel a lot of these guys are going to keep coming up. And to be honest with you, it's not like I have time to watch Charlotte like 3 times a week. But I like following the games, following the stats, watching the highlights, or watching sometimes they post like the goals and stuff. So that's what I've been doing and following what's been happening. And yeah, I just kind of want to just quickly say, like, beginning of the season early, like there are some really good, exciting signs, which are that Mike Benning has been getting some ice time. Like he's been playing, he started in the third pair the first couple of games, and now the last 2 games he's played on the second pair, I think. And that's been good to see. He's getting power play time. I think he's on the second power play unit, but he's got 3 points. He's got 2 goals. He scored a great one-timer on Wednesday. And he's putting up better numbers overall than even Carlson. Carlson has a really bad start. He's -4. He only has a point in like 5 games after he's hot season. Kinnunen has been the best defenseman, at least with the points down there. But Benning has been arguably our second best when it comes to the offense. So that's nice to see, because, he had a kind of a ho-hum like preseason. Like he was okay, but he wasn't like a world beater like Mackey. And he's a guy that we were high on coming off the 2 years in college, and has got the skill and all that. I think he's maybe settling in. So we'll see long term, but he's going to spend the whole season down there, which is good for him because of the small size and stuff. He's got to get used to the speed and all that. But early signs are like he's showing up. They're liking what they're seeing. Obviously, they're playing him. He's putting up points, and if he can transition and do the same thing as he's done, he was great in juniors. He was great in college. If he can be great in the pros, you don't need him to be a top pair defenseman. He could be even a bottom third. But if it's giving you, some backup power play, and some good, I don't know, 15 minutes a night where he's carrying the puck and giving you chances and not being liability, why not? He's a higher end Mahura, and so anyway, just being good to see that. And then Jack Devine with Denver in college, dude is like killing it. He's like one of the top scorers, 10 points in 4 games, which is like in college is a super high rate of scoring. Even including 2 road games against 2 tough teams and everything, he's put up 4 points the last 2 games, and now he gets to play at home. So today and tomorrow they play. So I want to follow and you can watch those games on ESPN Plus if you have it. So they play tonight at 9 and tomorrow I think at 8. And then I'm just Jack Devine is a guy that Cito's high on, and he's playing like he's putting up like a way higher rate of points in the first 4 games than Mackey did. And Mackey had a great season last year in college. So just, follow that guy. He might also become another, he might be the next Mackey for us. And then last in juniors, Sauching had a 4-point game the other night. He's been putting up points. Velmanis is putting a lot more points than last season, higher rate. And then Luke Coughlin, which I told you, the defenseman, also scoring at a much higher rate. And has been a good plus player for his team. So these kids are showing up, man. Kids are playing well in juniors and taking a step, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like all signs point that the names you and I discussed in the early episodes, like these guys, none of them have disappointed. They've actually so far shown that they've gotten better, and some of them are still 18. So that's the other part. Like that's
that's where it gets exciting. Beyond the run, the next 5 years, like Maurice said last year, we're looking at a 3 to 5 year window to try to compete and actually win. Obviously you always want to compete, but I think beyond that, like beyond 2028, when you can trade Barkov and Kachuk's deals running out shortly after that, you can start building the next wave, because you always need that, right? In every team. You can't just, be the LA Rams and just sign a bunch of guys to win a Super Bowl one year. That doesn't work in the NHL, because you're probably losing the first round like the Bruins did last year. Uh, so yeah, I think that's the exciting part. Beyond the stats, let's just getting them NHL ready and looking at how prospects usually come up and develop. It's going to take until they're 22, 23 to actually see what you really have, or at least the potential. I think Lundell was a bit of an exception, right? Because he was a center and he was kind of needed at the time. All that, but if not, he probably would have developed another year in the AHL before coming up. But yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and there's a model, and I've been telling you about this. I think the casual fans sometimes might get frustrated seeing somebody like Matthew sort of kind of show flashes and then being sent down for Cousins, and then you get frustrated, because it is true that maybe you can get more out of those guys long term. Now, those guys in the playoffs are not going to give you better play than Cousins. They won't, like not this year. That's just two ways. They won't, and that's the part that they're calculating. You told me, like, they're trying to contend. So if they're trying to contend, you do need Cousins, like, just to keep them around. And that's an example. I mean, you don't need Cousins. You can trade them and put somebody else in there if it's better. But if you have to choose between Sordev or Mackey and Cousins for your first playoff round against a tough opponent, they're going to get exposed, and so and there's no guarantee that they're going to score, because it's even harder to score in the playoffs. They've never been even through that, right? So that's what they're counting on. Better for them to play in the playoffs in the AHL, better for them to get a taste of it at a level where they can probably perform a little bit more. Their confidence can stay high. They can learn. It doesn't impact the Panthers if they don't have a good run, but they at least get the experience and they get coached up. Then you bring them in, with another year of experience. Serdev looked even more ready than Mackey to play two ways, because he spent a year in the AHL and Mackey hasn't yet. He's in college, which is not the same. And so when you look at the history of like Jason Robertson for Dallas, or Rupert Hintz, or, Batherson and Senators, these guys play in the AHL for a year or two. Tage Thompson did. Those guys broke in at 22, 23, 24, and now they're becoming elite players, or have become elite players. That doesn't mean that Mack and Sordev and all these guys are going to become elite players, but there's nothing wrong when you're 21, 20, Benning's 21, like they're still kids, man. And so, break them in when they're 22, 23 full time, when they're ready. They've been through it in the AHL. They've maybe played some playoff games. They've gotten to play with the Panthers like for stretches, when somebody gets injured, they're still going to get called up. Those games matter. Mackey looked better last game because he had a hit, 2 block shots. Like, it wasn't about the flash. It wasn't about the shooting. We didn't need him to do that as much in that kind of game. But he actually played a responsible, like, more physical game, which is what Sordev gives you. And then the scoring will come. I mean, I think a coach would tell you that. If you play that way, the goals will come once you get put in the first line. But we cannot put you in the first line if you can't defend. We cannot put you in the first line if you're going to turn it over like 5 times a game. We cannot put you in the first line if a bigger guy is going to muscle you, That's just what it is, right? Rodriguez is great because his skill, but also like on the boards, he can handle it, he can take the hit and get the puck out. Mackey's not quite there yet, but he was better on the boards last game. So I think he's working on it. And Sordev too. And to your point, which you said you were there in live and you saw Sordev, like, these kids are fast, man. They are fast. You told me one thing you texted me early on when you were at the game with Vancouver was like, bro, Sordev like sprinted back to get the puck. And
yeah, like right at the start of the game,
fast.
like his first shift, he came in on the boards, something happened, the puck went the other way. He was literally the first guy back.
We need that speed back. We lost Duclair, and Huberde's not a fast guy, but his skill makes him look fast and move the puck fast. We were a lot faster 2 years ago, and I think we need to get some of that speed back. And these are the kids who are going to bring in next season. I think both of them are going to try to break in for full time. But anyway, I'm excited because it's good signs. Like, we have several guys now that you're like, oh, I could see that guy in 2 years being a starter. And we haven't had that, in the prospect pool in a while, because it's been Denisenko and Heponiemi. And I mean, John Ludwig was there for a while, didn't break in, got traded to Penguins, and Penguins were starting him, which is not a great sign for the defense. And then he got injured. So
yeah, poor guy.
But
he went in for a big hit and got knocked himself out. But he's a guy that couldn't break into our team. So, anyway, that's lets you know that they don't have a ton of depth over there.
with the prospect pool if that's what
Oh
they're
no,
doing.
yeah. Some teams like Bruins, Lightning, stuff. They have to.
Yeah.
They need their stars.
We haven't even played Kinnan and we haven't played Carlson. We haven't, you know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
haven't given Benning a shot. So, anyway. So yeah, the kids are all right, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, future's bright. All right, let's go ahead and talk about other teams. Let's crap on other teams and do what we do best. Talk a bunch of nonsense. The Leafs are good, huh?
Are you serious, bro?
Listen, bro, they've been winning.
Yeah.
While like floating out there. I've watched the Leafs almost every game. They literally been winning just on like this scoring opportunity. They're super skilled on offense. So you give them an opportunity, they're gonna score. Last night I was watching the game. I don't know what I was watching. Two really good teams, two playoff teams that are expected to go deep. I didn't see anything. I mean, it might have just been a one-off, I guess. But it was tricky. It's funny watching like other games and comparing them to the Panthers. I'm not saying the Panthers are world beaters or the best of the best, but you definitely see like what's lacking or what's missing in those teams. And like, Dallas and the Leafs, they're highly skilled. They have some young guys. But it's just kind of like a back and forth open game. And I think that that's something that like the Lightning did really well. The difference is when the playoffs, come, they just like they become this like physical defensive team with Vasi, and then because you have Vasilevsky, you can take chances and risk, and that's something that the Leafs are gonna now maybe find out with Wall, because like he seems like he's pretty good, or he can become better than Samsonov. So I do think that like the goaltending is gonna carry them. Based on what I've seen, hot take. I think the Leafs are definitely, if the trajectory keeps going the way it is, I think they're definitely going to win the Atlantic. Which doesn't mean anything, but I do think that they're going to be a regular season team that's going to win a lot of games, even when they cruise, just because of the talent. It's kind of like a reference to like when we used to watch like Barcelona and in Spain, and like the whole La Liga thing, where skilled and talent gets you far. It's just when you get there, like when they get to the playoffs, that's when they're going to struggle, because then the defense is going to be amplified. Everything's going to be amplified. So Wall is a young goaltender, so is he really going to give you something in the playoffs? So all those things matter. But yeah, I think like the Hurricanes will be fine. I think they have a really good team. I don't know what's happening there. Orlov. Is not doing well. It's not playing well, but
he's not fitting in. He's trying to do too much. He's trying to join the offense, kind of doing what McCabe was doing for the Leafs. He's been a mess, and people have been criticizing him. Now he's injured. We don't, we have to see how long. But this is where it starts to get tricky for the Leafs. Like McCabe being out will be an issue if it's like more than a week or two, and because then they have to bring Lagesson or Benoit and whatever. Those guys are not that great. And then, Klingberg is still a liability. And, he had a good game yesterday. Riley did too. So that helped them. They're getting great goaltending from Wall. That's giving insurance. If they had allowed a couple goals yesterday, they probably would have lost that game because they were getting dominated. And they would have had to open it up more. They're not great at 5-on-5. Their numbers are still not great. Even the top line. The top four guys are healthy. They're putting up a bunch of points. That's always going to be the case if they're healthy for the year. So, just on those names alone, they can win the division, especially because there aren't other teams that have those top level talents. I mean, the Bruins are trying to just win with what they have. The Lightning are getting older. We don't have that elite scoring talent that they do. So they have a leg up, but I'm still skeptical about long term for the season if they get hit with a couple of injuries, or when that defense when the goals don't go in, or when the defense start to leak some of the goals in, and can they still pull out a lot of wins? And they have they have to face the Bruins, they have to face the Lightning more, they have to face the Panthers more. So we'll see how that plays out. So anyway, yesterday they were not the better team. They won, but against the Lightning, they were not a better team. And, so I'm skeptical still that long-term the team's going to be like this dominant, whatever team. And I also have to say, they're not built for the playoffs. You can see it. They're just not. They're not built for the physicality. They're not good at 5-on-5. The defense is really more vulnerable than it's been in the past. I do think that Trey Livin's going to have to trade some whatever picks they got left, and and a guy for a defenseman at some point. He's probably going to do that at the deadline, but Nylander's going to get signed, hopefully for like $1 gazillion. And then, But anyway, I for me, what's been interesting is the between the line stuff. I thought the Red Wings, I've always thought that they were going to be better than people thought, but I also think they've been way better than I even think they are. And I think they're going to drop a little bit.
Yeah.
They've been scoring at a very high rate, putting away all their chances. That's not going to stay. Also, they play very open. They love to do like the break-in, skill, open ice, and they don't hit a lot. That's not going to bode well long term. I think the Senators will get better. I think that the Bruins have had a very easy schedule, and they're going to start to drop once they get into harder competition and they get some injuries. They don't have a lot of depth. The Penguins have been so-so. They'll continue to be so-so. I think the Lightning and the Panthers the same. Will continue to sort of struggle. So anyway, I think things correct themselves. Like the Hurricanes and the Devils will get better. I mean, the Devils have not been good at all. And they might drop a little bit this year. I think they overachieved last year, but they surprised everybody. But anyway, that's what happens, man. We'll see. I don't have much to say. It's still too early. It's been kind of a wacky season, like you said. Some top teams dropping. Oilers are a mess. They might have to fire somebody. And I think at the end of the day, for me, it's just I think the Atlantic is going to be it's going to be a bloodbath. We have a game or two in hand. So if we win a game or two, we would be right in that mix with everybody. I mean, Bruins are the only ones standing out because they won so many games. But anyway, it will be interesting. It's going to be a night-to-night kind of – you kind of want to follow more than just your team because you kind of want to see how everybody else is doing, and it's going to matter how the teams are doing. So, yeah, nothing that I can say other than like the numbers, the standings are in everything. I don't think the Bruins are as good as it looks, and the Leafs are not. Haven't played 5-2, a 5-2 record at all, like you said. I don't think they've played to that level. They don't deserve that record, but whatever. They got it, so good for them.
Yeah. That's definitely the case. That's why, like, during the start of the season, it's good to just get the points because you are gonna drop off, unless you're gonna be the President's Trophy winner, I guess.
No, they're gonna play the Panthers or the Bruins or the Lightning in the first round and probably get their ass whooped.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, right? Like winning the division and all that. It's not the greatest thing ever. Like
you got the pressure again, and then you're gonna get a scrappy wildcard team who has probably more depth than you. Actually, you have more top level talent, but they might have more depth. Those teams are fighting for playoff spots at the end of the season, so they're playing hard. They're getting ready. You're coasting because you're first place, second place, and then that first game hits you at home with the pressure, and the other team's playing loose. They're like they have been banging for a month, because they've been trying to get in, and then there's Bruins or Lightning or Panthers, all of whom are really physical, and so we'll see, but I don't buy that Bertuzzi and Domi are going to make the difference physically. You know what the JD Bunkis was telling us, Mickey, yesterday, the guys that they do a bunch of podcasts for the Leafs site, that they're done with Reeves. They want Reeves like gone. Like JD Bunkis said, like Leafs is literally the worst hockey player I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's terrible. Like
he's unplayable, man.
The 5 minutes he's on the ice is just turnovers, penalties.
Yeah. They had a lot of goals. They couldn't get off the ice for 2 minutes. That was Trey Livin's like worst move in a while, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to bring some grit or something, and it's something that you can't really teach. Like, I'm not even like I understand. Like, you're not gonna have Marner and Nylander start hitting people. They're not even big guys, and it's not like Barkov and Reinhardt are out there beating people. But it's not about that, right? It's more like having your middle six kind of give you that physicality or that scoring depth that you need. So when like Matthews is not on, Nylander's having a bad game, whatever your top line or your top two lines are. I think Tavares, like he's had a great start to the season. He's gonna fade. That's just normal. Those guys are rested because we let them have an early vacation last year. But yeah, I think it'll balance out. I don't know if it'll take 20 games. I think actually the next 4 or 5 games is when we'll start to see more of what it's gonna be, just because now teams are warmed up. You've faced some good and bad opponents. You've had some good and bad losses. That goes for almost every team now. So
yeah, and we've had some practices and people have been able to figure some stuff out.
And we did have a lot of new guys start, and our bottom 6, wasn't producing, and now that our fourth line got going, that'll balance things out. I think our third line has been at worst, and that's just because of the personnel and the moves. And I understand like why you don't want to break up that fourth line now, but ideally you'll have, Lorentz in the third line instead of Cousins, and Cousins with, Stanton and Lundberg, but that might not even work out because I do think, Cousins makes your line worse. If he has to have, more than 10 minutes a night or something like that. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, and I expect the Hurricanes to be okay. I just don't know what's happening, man. Like they're getting scored on, like it's unreal, man. They're just giving up goals like it's nothing. And that wasn't the case last year. And we know that Rob Brindamore, it's a defensive coach, and that's been like the weirdest thing to happen, I think, to start of the season. And yeah, next 4 games for the Panthers are pretty good. I think we have, let's see. Yeah, dead silence. Clicking.
Bro, you're gonna start looking at a schedule.
Man, ain't nobody watching this far down the video.
I know.
All right, so we play Seattle, Bruins, Red Wings, and then we have 3 winnable games after that: Chicago, Blue Jackets, and Capitals. If we win Saturday, as we should, I think we can beat Boston and Red Wing. I know we have to travel, so like maybe we drop one of those 2 games. That's kind of normal. Even though we have 2 days off in between those 2 games, and then we go into Chicago next Saturday. So next Friday we'll have 3 games to review, and
yeah,
they're pretty good. They're good opponents. They're all playoffs teams. Well, except for the Red Wings.
Yeah, no, it'd be fun to review. And breaking news, David Duarte posted that Bennett was on the ice, but he left when practice started. Not a great sign. Yeah, so that means that probably he won't practice today, so maybe he won't go tomorrow. Good news is Barkov is out there in practice, so he's probably going to go tomorrow. Kulikov is not, so I think he's still sick, so we might just finally see Mike Riley get a game for him, I suspect. And Mackey also wasn't out there, so I don't know if it's a sickness or if Mackey's going to get sent down. I don't know if they're gonna have that new guy Gadjevich or whatever. I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, who knows? But it just seems like Mackey wasn't out there, Kulikov wasn't out there, and then Bennett did skate, so that's a good thing. But if it's not practicing, then maybe there was a bit of a setback where he felt something or he's not ready to go. So I'm sure Maurice after practice will give us updates. But just it's still kind of messy, man. It's like we need to get healthy and we need to get
Yeah, definitely
get out of the sickness, get out of the thing. Better to happen now at home tomorrow. If we get Barkov back, we should still be able to win. And then if we go on the road, then everybody hopefully is back and healthy. And if Bennett doesn't play tomorrow, definitely should play against the Bruins. So
yeah. So Bennett just literally skated.
Yeah, but his whole thing is an ankle, So it's just like give it time to heal, give it time to feel right, and make sure he doesn't re-injure it. That's the main thing. He's a high ankle sprain, so. If he's skating, that's a good sign. It's not that bad. It's just, probably doesn't. He tweaked it or felt something, or they don't want him to take the risk.
Yeah, so it looks like that's gonna keep someone else that's gonna have someone else stepping in.
Yeah, that's why I'm
Yeah.
surprised Maggie didn't practice, because I figured Maggie would be that other guy that would step in.
Yeah,
Because I don't
maybe
think that
Gadjevich.
Gadjevich guy's going to be back for.
I don't think he can
still.
play
He needs to
yet.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
so-
he can actually play. So that's gonna be tricky. We might call up Sortive or
But it could be that Mackey's sick. I mean, they say that there's a sickness going around. That I think Kulikov and Barkov had the same thing, and some guys were under the
yeah,
weather.
Kulikov got it. Barkov did.
So
Is practicing with Rodriguez and Reinhardt.
I'm not seeing any other updates right now. So
No, so if Ben is out, it's gonna be the same. Losty up there, Lundell with Cousins, and either Sortive or Lockwood. Lockwood is probably gonna be the one to step in.
Yeah, Kobe guy said Barkov is taking rushes with his usual spot with Rodriguez and Reinhardt, and Sam Bennett hopped on the ice, but then left. So
yeah, probably didn't feel good. All right. Well,
breaking news.
Yeah,
to end the episode.
I was gonna say I forgot the guy's name.
Tell me what it is, bro.
Daryl Schefter, the Adam Schefter of the NHL.
Yeah.
Chris Johnston, who, bro?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's right.
The Elliot Friedman.
Elliot Friedman, bro. Elliot Friedman.
Of the Florida Panthers. Breaking news. Bummer. Thanks for ending the show on a really sad note.
I mean, Barkov's back.
All right, book the L for Saturday, guys.
You're such a.
It was like 5-2.
All right, I gotta go, man. All right.
All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next time. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back next Friday, recapping the games from the week and talking more nonsense. We'll catch you on the flip side.
All right.